You know that feeling, right? When you're sitting in a reception area just waiting for your name to be called for a job
Oh,
interview.
absolutely, that universal experience.
Your palms are a little sweaty. You're mentally rehearsing your answer to what is your greatest weakness?
And just hoping you don't trip on the rug walking in.
Exactly. But I was reading through the source material for today's deep dive, and it struck me that for a certain group of people, that anxiety, it's not just about paying the rent.
Hmm.
It's about proving you can be trusted with, $100 million machine and a couple hundred
It
lives.
really puts the whole stress interview concept into a new light. We are talking about aviation today.
We are. Specifically, we're diving into this document called A320 Pilot Interview Masterclass, the Airbus Philosophy Mastery Guide.
Okay.
And what hooked me, what really got me, was the premise. It's written by an A320 fleet manager, so the guy who's actually making the hiring decisions,
So straight from the source.
straight from the source. And he's done something I think is brilliant. He's taken all that standard, generic interview advice we've all heard.
Like be a team player or have a 5-year plan.
Right, exactly. And he's translated it. He's turned it into Airbus standard operating procedures. It's like a dictionary.
So it's corporate fluff on one side
Yeah.
and life-saving operational philosophy on the other.
Yes.
And that translation is just, it's crucial because
Mm.
in aviation, generic answers get you filtered out, like immediately.
Right.
If you hire a bad marketing manager, you might lose a campaign.
Right.
But if you hire a pilot who cracks under pressure or doesn't follow the procedure, I mean, the consequences are catastrophic.
Yeah.
This guide is basically arguing that you can't just act like a good employee in the interview. You have to prove you already have the captain's mentality before you even put the uniform on.
I love that term, captor's mentality. Let's unpack that because the guide follows the structure of an interview almost like a flight path. It starts the second you walk in. The standard advice is simple. Be polite. Say thank you.
Which is fine. But in a cockpit, polite isn't really the metric they're judging you on. The guide calls this moment the cockpit entry.
The cockpit entry, that sounds intense.
It is. I mean, think about that environment. The cockpit is this tiny enclosed space. If a pilot just bursts in, frantic or disorganized or even overly casual, it destabilizes the entire crew.
Ugh.
The guide argues that the interview room is the cockpit. So you don't just say, thanks for having me. You have to set a professional, disciplined tone right away.
The specific phrasing the guide suggested was really interesting. It wasn't just about being grateful. It was about acknowledging the airline's safety culture and operational efficiency.
Exactly. You're signaling immediately, I'm not just here for a job. I'm here because I respect the framework you operate under.
It's not a social pleasantry.
No, it's a professional declaration. You're telling the fleet manager, I speak your language. I know what matters here.
Which leads us to that classic question, the one everyone dreads. Why should we hire you?
Mm-hmm. Why are you a good match?
Right. In a normal job, I'd list my skills. I'm good at spreadsheets. I'm punctual. But the guide says for an A320 pilot, just saying, I can fly is completely redundant.
It's a baseline assumption. Right. You have a license? Great. So does literally everyone else in that waiting room.
So it's not the skill.
It's the philosophy. This is where the guide brings up the golden rules of Airbus.
Fly, navigate, communicate.
It sounds so simple, almost like a slogan. But that hierarchy, it's basically written in blood. In these highly automated aircraft like the A320, there's a very real danger.
Okay.
Pilots can get sucked into the computer screens when something goes wrong. They get a ding, a light flashes, and they just bury their heads in the system trying to fix the glitch.
Forgetting that no one is actually flying the airplane.
Exactly. It's terrifying. It's tunnel vision.
So when a candidate has to answer, why should we hire you? The answer has to show they get that hierarchy.
Right, that they prioritize flying the aircraft first.
So a good answer isn't, I'm a great stick and rudder pilot. It's more like, I am disciplined in adhering to the golden rules. I use automation as a tool, not a crutch.
Precisely. And the guide really emphasizes that balance. The A320 is, it's basically a computer with wings.
Yeah.
So you need to tell them, I'm proficient with systems management, but I maintain my manual handling skills. You're reassuring them that if the screens go black, you won't freeze.
You'll just fly the plane.
Don't fly the plane.
That's interesting, that tension between being a systems manager and a pilot. But let's look at the business side of it, because airlines operate on these razor-thin margins.
Mm-hmm.
The question, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
This is such a classic trap question in aviation. In, say, the tech world, saying, I want to start my own business shows ambition.
Right.
In aviation, that same answer just screams flight risk.
These are the training costs. Right. The guide mentions this is a huge investment.
It's astronomical. I mean, to take a new hire, put them through a type rating, to learn the specific A320 systems, and in line training with an instructor.
We're talking a lot of money.
We're talking tens of thousands of dollars, easily. If you just leave in 2 years, the airline has lost a massive amount of money on you.
So the correct answer isn't about personal glory. It's about stability.
It's about return on investment. The guide suggests you frame your answer around finding a home, not just a stopover.
So you mentioned upgrading to captain.
Yes, because that shows you want to take on responsibility.
Mm.
But you also talk about mentoring new cadets.
I really like that pivot. It changes the whole narrative from what can the airline do for me to
How will I pay back your investment? Exactly. You're offering yourself up as part of the ecosystem. I will stay, I will upgrade, and then I will train the next pilot.
that has to be music to a recruiter's ears.
It solves their retention problem.
Speaking of training, let's talk about the strategy part of the interview. The standard advice is to have a 30-day plan. I'll meet the team.
Right, I'll organize my desk.
That kind of thing. The guide translates this into something called a line training strategy.
This was actually one of my favorite insights in the whole document. So when a new pilot starts, they do IOE, initial operating experience,
Flying real passengers,
on real routes, but with a dedicated instructor right there next to them.
and that has to be incredibly stressful for the instructor.
Oh, incredibly. They're legally responsible for the flight, but they have to let the new guy fly. It's a high workload environment. The guide says you can reduce that stress right there in the interview by promising to be overprepared. The suggested answer is, I will arrive on day one knowing the memory items and limitations cold.
Okay, memory items, just to clarify for anyone who isn't a pilot, those are the emergency procedures you have to do instantly. Yeah.
Right. Engine fire, rapid depressurization. You can't say, hang on, let me find the manual. You have to know it by heart.
And if you show up already knowing those,
Then the instructor doesn't have to babysit you on the absolute basics.
the quote in the source was perfect. It said the goal is to let the training captain focus on polishing handling skills rather than teaching basic company procedures.
It shows professional maturity. You're saying, I won't be a burden. I will do the homework so we can focus on the advanced stuff.
And that preparation extends to the hardware, too. The guide talks about knowledge, not just, I know you fly Airbuses, but knowing the specific engines. Why does that matter?
It matters because it connects the cockpit to the boardroom. The guide specifically mentions the A320neo and its LEP-1A engines.
Right.
And those engines offer a 15% improvement in fuel efficiency.
Okay, so that's a stat. How do you turn that into a job-winning interview answer?
You connect the dots. You say, I know you're investing in the Neo for that 15% fuel saving. My goal is to fly accurate profiles, continuous descents, single-engine taxiing to make sure you actually get that savings.
Wow. So you're basically framing yourself as an asset manager.
You are. Fuel is the single biggest variable cost for an airline. A pilot who flies inefficiently is literally burning profit.
Yeah.
But a pilot who understands the why behind the efficiency is protecting the bottom line. And that's a massive differentiator.
It tells the interviewer, I am going to save you money.
Exactly. And that is a language every manager understands.
Okay, let's move to when things go wrong. Operational reliability. The guide contrasts the standard I take ownership answer with the captain's mentality.
This is about the difference between a passive first officer and a future captain. A passive pilot sees a broken light, calls dispatch, and asks, hey, what do I do?
They wait for instructions.
They wait. A future captain takes initiative. The guide brings up the MEL, the minimum equipment list.
Which is?
It's the Bible for mechanical failures, a legal document that tells you if you can fly with a certain piece of equipment broken.
Okay.
The guide says you should tell the interviewer, I don't just report problems, I consult the MEL, I assess the impact, and I present a solution.
Present a solution. That feels like the key phrase there. You aren't just dumping a problem on their lap.
No, you're handing them a plan. We have a snag, but I've checked the manuals. We can still operate safely if we do X, Y, and Z. That saves time, prevents delays. That is reliability.
Now, we can't talk about aviation without talking about the team. CRM, crew, resource management. The guide translates I'm a team player into pilot monitoring duties.
Team player is so vague, it implies just getting along.
Right.
In a cockpit, teamwork is actually about surveillance.
Surveillance. That sounds kind of adversarial.
It's mutual surveillance for survival. When one pilot is flying, the other is piler monitoring, and their job is to watch everything and to speak up if something looks wrong. The guide uses the term flat cockpit gradient.
Meaning a lack of hierarchy.
It means the hierarchy doesn't silence the junior pilot. In the old days, captains were like gods. A co-pilot wouldn't dare correct them and plane crash because of it.
Wow.
A flat gradient means if I'm brand new and I see the captain descending too low, I have to say, "Captain, check altitude."
So the interview answer needs to show that you aren't afraid to speak up.
Yes, I support the pilot flying, but I am assertive enough to intervene to prevent a threat. It shows you understand your primary job isn't to be polite. It's to keep everyone alive.
You're the safety net.
You are the safety net.
That flows really well into the next section on growth and handling criticism. A corporate performance review is what, once a year?
In a cockpit, it happens every single time you land. Every sector. It's called the debrief, and the guide is clear. You have to show you can handle a brutal debrief. No thin skin allowed.
The self-debrief concept stood out to me here.
It's the idea that you shouldn't wait for the captain to tell you what you did wrong. You should land, park the brake, and be the first to say it.
I was 5 knots fast on the approach.
Or, I flared a little high. You critique yourself first.
And why is that so important to a recruiter?
Because it shows you don't have an ego that blocks learning. If you can identify your own mistakes, you're always improving. If you get defensive, you're a safety risk.
So you tell them, I treat every flight as a training session. Okay, we're nearing the end of the interview, the closing. The guide is very firm on this. You never, ever say, I have no questions.
Never. It just looks passive.
Yeah.
But the questions the guide suggests you should ask, they're really high level.
I liked the one about the check airmen. What distinguishes your top check airmen from the rest?
It's a power move, right? Check airmen are the elite, the teachers, the examiners. By asking that, you're signaling, I want to know what perfect looks like here because that's my target.
It frames you as a high achiever.
Immediately.
And then finally, the guarantee, the last impression. If you hand me the keys to your aircraft.
It brings it all back to that visceral reality. You're asking for the keys to a 70-ton machine. The guarantee is a promise of safety, efficiency, and professionalism. It's a heavy statement.
Now, up to this point, it's all been behavioral stuff, talking the talk. But the masterclass document does something really interesting at the end. It throws in a stumper.
A technical simulation.
To see if you can walk the walk.
And this where the rubber meets the runway. It's one thing to say, I know the systems. It's another to troubleshoot a cascading failure in real time with an interviewer staring at you.
Let's run through this scenario for everyone listening because it really shows the depth required. You're the pilot flying, climbing through 20,000 feet. Suddenly, master warning, continuous repetitive chime.
The loud red alarm. Stress levels just spike.
You look at the ECAM, the error screen, and it says HYDB RSVR LO LVL, blue hydraulic reservoir low level.
Okay.
The guide breaks the answer down. Identify, explain, conclude. So, step 1, identify. What does this mean?
Most people would just say the blue hydraulic system failed. But the guy wants precision. It's low level. That means the fluid has leaked out. The reservoir is empty.
Step 2, explain. And this seems to be where the trap is.
It is, because the novice pilot thinks, oh, I've lost blue system pressure. I'll just turn on the blue electric pump or deploy the RET.
The RAT being that little propeller that drops out of the belly in an emergency.
Exactly. The ram air turbine. It spins in the wind to create pressure. But here's the catch, and this is where that low-level part matters so much. Okay. Pumps, whether it's an electric pump or the RAT work, by pressurizing fluid.
And if the fluid is gone?
You can spin that pump as fast as you want, you're getting zero pressure.
It's like trying to drink from a straw in an empty glass.
Perfect analogy. And in fact, running that electric pump dry could cause it to overheat and shatter, creating a fire hazard. So the system logic actually shuts the pump off to protect itself.
So the correct answer is acknowledging that because the fluid is gone, the whole system is unrecoverable.
Correct. You have to say the system is lost due to fluid depletion. The RAT cannot restore it. That shows you understand the physics, not just the buttons.
Step 3, conclude. The escalation. The interviewer asks, okay, now you lose the yellow system too. A dual failure. What happens?
This is the nightmare scenario. The A320 usually flies in normal law, where the computer protects you. It won't let you stall or roll upside down.
It makes the pilot look good.
It does. But with blue and yellow hydraulics gone, you lose so much control authority that the computer just, it gives up. It drops to alternate law.
Meaning the protections are gone?
Most of them, yes. You are now flying a very raw aircraft. It's harder to handle, and for the landing, you can't lower the gear normally. You have to use a gravity extension.
Which is literally cranking a handle and letting the wheels just fall down.
That's it. Let gravity pull them down and lock. And you can't use full flaps, so you have to come in fast.
So you're coming in fast with limited protections, manually cranking down the gear.
Probably with a crosswind, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy wants you to connect all those dots. Start with leaking fluid and end with high-speed landing in alternate law.
If you can do that.
Then you aren't just reciting a manual. You understand the consequences of the failure.
Yeah.
That is the captain's mentality.
It's really impressive. It bridges that gap between I studied for the test and I am ready for the emergency.
And I think that's the broader lesson here for anyone. The interview preparation is the operational preparation. If you internalize these answers, you're not just faking it to get a job.
Right.
You're actually adopting the mindset that makes you a safer pilot. You're building the neural pathways for safety before you even sit in the seat.
It really makes you think about other professions, doesn't it? We all talk about our soft skills, communication, teamwork, whatever. But how often do we translate those into standard operating procedures for our own jobs?
That's the takeaway for me. Don't just say, I'm organized. Explain how your organization prevents a specific crisis in your field. Turn your soft skills into operational guarantees.
It changes the conversation.
It changes it from, I'm nice to have, to, I am essential.
I want to leave everyone with a thought based on that hydraulic failure. The blue hydraulic reservoir low level is a crisis that tests if you truly know your systems or if you're just guessing.
It's that moment where surface level knowledge completely fails you. You see who the real pros are?
So ask yourself, in your own career, what is your blue hydraulic failure? What is the crisis that reveals if you really truly know your stuff or if you're just reciting lines? And are you ready for it?
That's the question that separates the professionals from the amateurs.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.